My name is Tim Ryan. Welcome to the Tim and Jen show. I'm sitting here with my badass co-host, my amazing wife, my business partner and best friend.
Oh, hi, I'm Jennifer Menace Ryan. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. So grateful to have you watching, listening while you're getting ready or getting ready to go to bed or getting up in the morning. Thank you for being here. We have an amazing guest on tonight. And
we'll get to him in a couple minutes.
Welcome to summer.
Yeah.
Welcome you to where you can wear white. Really, you can wear whatever you want, whatever you want. People always go, oh, you can't wear white after Labor Day, which is
it's shorts and flip-flops, and I don't care what color the t-shirt is. But that's you every day. So
even in the winter.
So
not Chicago winter, but anyway, so
summer's here.
Outdoors.
More people are getting vaccinated. Life is getting back to normal.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever normal is.
I do gotta say this. I'm not gonna put any names to it. So we found out a friend of ours got COVID last week, and he was at Costco that night. Yeah. Shopping, and I was like, "What? Like, wait, what?" And it was just like, it was so weird because then we started talking about it, Tim and I, and like how many people out there have done that. And so today I was getting my hair done, and I was talking to my girl, and she was telling me that her friends had it and they were like going to work and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, how do people do that? Like, I just don't get it.
Well, as we talked, I mean, some people don't have anyone else and they needed to go to the store. They don't know how to do Instacart or whatever, but the individual we're talking about has all the capabilities to do those things and didn't, and it's frustrating.
Yeah. No,
especially when it almost killed me and you.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, I get some people get a really light, version of it, but it's still the version of COVID.
And then my buddy Mike, I texted with today, he happens to be in Vegas right now, and said a good friend of his just passed away because he was a Trumper and thought the COVID was fake and passed on getting the vaccine, and he just died 2 days ago.
And then we found out another friend of ours was in the hospital today from COVID. So, just be smart, be wise, and follow the rules on that stuff. And I'm just kind of, follow.
It's America, it's society. There's good people, there's assholes. There's
I don't know.
I
think ignorance is bliss. It's kind of like, the disease too of alcoholism or mental health things that are going on. I do want to say though this. Tim's like telling me to wrap it up.
Well, no, I'm telling you to look at the screen.
Oh no,
you're not looking.
So, is that what that meant?
Yeah,
I thought you meant like wrap it up. Yeah, I was getting this signal underneath, like wrap it up. So, what was I just gonna say? Summer, outdoors, self-love. What are you doing to, people are like, oh, I'm dealing with anxiety. And we've kind of talked about anxiety, right? We've talked about mental health issues, but really, like, I, again, had another conversation with somebody today, and they're like, I suffer from anxiety. And I go, well, what are you doing to better yourself? Like, what are you doing to deal with your anxiety? And, she was telling me that, her therapist tells her to listen to podcasts and listen to, self-help tapes and do things that are bettering yourself. And it's like, in a weird way, I feel that, we can sit here and say like, oh, I suffer from mental health, or I suffer from alcoholism, or this or that. But what are you doing to better yourself and getting through that anxiety or that level of stress or that bad relationship or whatever it is that you're going through? Like, how are you dealing with that? And what are your tools? And are you open to learn or try new experiences? Like,
you have to remain teachable.
Yeah. And I go back to what we said last week. Like you said to me a couple of weeks ago, like, it's so important for us to grow with the times. And with that being said, I do got to say, I was getting ready earlier because I had another podcast I had to do, and I could hear you laughing, and then I could hear your little footsteps running into the bathroom. So you're having me hear our next guest.
Yeah, I was listening
laughing so freaking hard. And then I'm laughing so freaking hard.
So coming up, we have an actor, a producer, a comedian,
a friend,
a brother in recovery, Jimmy Shin. Welcome to the show, Jimmy. How the hell are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Thanks for taking the time to bless us with your presence.
Yes.
And what we were talking about, what were you doing right before we got on the show?
Yeah, right before I got on the show, I was meditating and I actually fell asleep. So I was a couple minutes late, but it brings me to what you guys were talking about, anxiety and stuff like that. Is I used to suffer from bad anxiety and get anxiety attacks and sometimes even panic attacks. And ever since I started meditating regularly, and that's pretty much I've been doing it for over 3 years and I haven't missed a day. I do it time in the morning and then one time in the evening. I do TM, transcendental meditation. And ever since then, I honestly, like, I can't remember the last time I got super anxious.
So let me ask you a question, Jimmy. When you meditate and you say, all right, I'm going to do it at 3 or I'm going to do it at 8 a.m., how long do you allow yourself to do your meditation? Is it 5 minutes? Is it 10?
I actually do 20 minutes, and that's what you're told to do under TM. You get your own mantra, which David Lynch, who I study at the David Lynch Foundation, basically he says that the mantra is a key to your subconscious. So it gets you to that place that we all want to get to of, perfect peace and relaxation much, much quicker than if you were, say, counting or tracking your breath and so on.
So you've been doing this for 3 years and you are sitting here giving your testimony that it has absolutely helped you better yourself.
It really did. And it started with actually a crisis, which oftentimes even our recovery happens because, we get in a place where we're stuck. One day I woke up and as you announced that I'm a performer, I'm a stand-up comedian. I woke up one day and half my face was paralyzed.
Oh,
wow.
And I couldn't smile and I couldn't eat soup. It would come out of the side of my mouth. I couldn't blink out of that one eye. And so I was super scared. I'm thinking, I have 4 years of sobriety and now I get a stroke. I mean, I used to do so much cocaine that it could kill a small animal and not a sign of a stroke. And now, so I was like, I didn't know what was going on. Went to the doctor. They say I had Bell's palsy.
Wow.
And immediately, I started looking under YouTube videos, which you should never do.
yeah.
Because, you got people on there like, I had this for 5 years and I'm still like this. Right? And I'm just scared because I don't want my face to stay stuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Paralyzed like that. And so I had to learn to relax, man. I was, type A personality, go, go, go. Always trying to accomplish, right? Sometimes after we get sober, we get our sort of gratification and approval through accomplishing things.
Yep.
And so at that time, I was producing 6 shows a week.
Nice.
I was just on max. I had a girlfriend, new girlfriend, all these things. And I was stressed to the max. And I didn't even know it, because you get used to it. You function on that high stress mode, and it sometimes fuel, right? And you're go, 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 and you're used to it. But I didn't know I was super stressed.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because that's the way I was. And Jennifer taught me to slow down. And last night, I slept 12 hours. And you know what? If I need it, I do it. I'm 52 years old. And when Jen and I got together, she said, I want the second half of our life to be happy. And I've got to learn to say no. I've got to have balance. And what I try to do today is work smarter than work harder.
Yeah, I like that.
So I take it the Bell's palsy. Did you actually have Bell's palsy and it went away?
I did have Bell's palsy. And then so I started looking for meditations and stuff online. And at that time, our mutual friend, Greg Baldwin, said, hey, you want to go check out this meditation workshop over at the David Lynch Foundation? And I'm like, sure, I'll try anything, right? And so I go there and then immediately I take it to, because I'm desperate, I've dabbled in meditation before, but I was in a point where I wanted to relax and I didn't know how, And
Wow.
So they taught us these techniques that I immediately used, and I've been doing it ever since. 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. And yeah, I just found a way to just it's almost like a charger for your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we might have to hook up and go with you over there because I need to learn how to do
Yeah,
that.
I've introduced a bunch of my friends, Daryl Hammond, Matt Pinfield, all those guys. They got down there and they're meditating now. So
that's awesome.
That's amazing. So how long did it take for your symptom or your side effects really like to go away?
I did it in 6 weeks where I was, which is I guess the shortest amount of time you can have the extreme kind of Bell's palsy that I had. I recently looked at some of my girlfriend's cousins' graduation photos, and there was this one lady on there with clearly she had Bell's palsy, and I think she just like it's like that for her because I think she just never learn to relax maybe, because it's hard to relax when you don't know, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And, with your face.
Yeah.
My girlfriend had it and she's a beautiful girl. And she had it for like, I want to say like 6 months. And it broke my heart. It broke my heart to see her go through it. And I don't think she's 100% like better, but she's, 90% better.
Yeah. No, I got 100% better. I got my smile back, and
that's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so I attribute it to one. I just surrendered it, like we learned how to do in recovery, and then I just started showing up for myself doing step 11, which is prayer meditation.
Wow. It's amazing that you applied the principles in your illness outside of addiction or alcoholism into your health, because we apply them on all our affairs, and it's really important like that you're able to do that. It's funny how the universe, higher power, God, whatever you want to call it, kind of puts you in a place where you need to stop.
Yeah. And I think for all of us too, like we have areas in our life where we don't, or it's more difficult because it's our, areas where we still want to hang on, right? Maybe it's our relationships, maybe it's our finances, maybe it's, your health, whatever it is, there's still things that we want to control, we want to manage on our own, right? And then we come to a place where God says, nope, this is mine too,
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting, Jimmy, when you were at the beginning talking about how you were, producing 6 shows a week and go. Once I got sober, I thought that's how I was always type A personality, but I just had no balance. I was sober. I'm doing all these amazing things, but inside I was ready to implode because I didn't know how to ask for help for that. And, now I've got a therapist and, sure, I got my sponsor and all that, but it's getting that balance in check so I can be happy and healthy internally, because Jen always uses this analogy, everything was shiny and pretty on the outside, but I had a void, a hole in the inside, and we're constantly learning. And you're the second person we've had on in the past few weeks that's talked about the TMS, what's it called?
Transcendental meditation.
You're the second or
Maybe
third
the
person.
universe is telling you something, Tim.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Thank you.
But I want to know, first off, where are you from originally?
I'm from Seattle originally. I moved to LA 12 years ago. And it's funny, I moved here sober because I was afraid of LA, and I knew, there's a lot of drugs here and stuff like that. So I moved into a sober living, and I lived in a sober living in LA, which they have very nice ones, as you guys know.
Yep.
So I stayed in a sober living for like 2 years. Finally, they were joking and say, what are you going to have, like get married and have your kids here? You got like 3-4 years sobriety, and I was like, house manager and all this shit, you know what I mean? And like, kind of leader of my little world, right? But finally I moved out, and sure enough, I relapsed 6 months later. I moved out on my own with another guy that lived in that house, and he ended up relapsing, then I relapsed. And I didn't relapse because of him, but.
Crazy how that works, isn't it?
Yeah.
But now you're over 7 years clean and sober.
Lucky.
I have 7 years actually next month.
Awesome. That is absolutely
lucky 7.
Well, how long did you go out for?
I went out for 3 years.
No shit.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be easy to come back, but honestly, it was like pulling skin. Like it was like really hard to come back.
especially when you've worked a program, you've had that structure.
It's harder to come back.
It is, people like, oh, well, if you relapse, would you come back? If I relapse, I'm going to die because I'm going to jam a rig of heroin, which will be fentanyl. I'm an OD. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I personally don't know, but I don't think my ego, I mean, right now, my ego wouldn't want me to come back. Like,
right.
It would be, yeah, that's
so
hard.
Did you move to LA wanting to be a comedian first or an actor?
Comedian first. Yeah, I didn't really plan on doing any acting, but I fell into it because people see you doing your thing up there and they're like, oh, you'd be perfect as this guy, right? And so, yeah, it's funny though, like all the good things in my life, to, quote Danny Trejo, has been a direct result of just being of service to other human being. And
we just heard that from.
Wait, so if your ears have been burning the last few weeks, is that we had a guest on here who you know very, very well. And he was telling us some funny stories about you,
well, you
and
can mention
him,
the guest.
Greg. We had Greg on, and he was talking about how he took you to Whole Foods.
Yeah.
and that you're the one that got him into doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Which I gotta tell you, so I think I'm funny, but I'm not at all. Like when it comes to acting in the entertainment world, like I had no idea how hard it was to do comedy until I started going on auditions for comedy. And it was like, and then studying it, and doing all that. And then I get sober, right? And like more depth of weight. Now I can make fun of myself. I don't take myself so seriously. And a direct result of recovery, everything that I've done and gotten, I've been able to do some comedy, but like I could not do what you do on a daily basis.
Well, long before Greg started doing stand-up, he was doing H&I, which he also introduced me to, and I've loved it, and what he would do, he would kill in jails and institutions everywhere.
Yeah.
And so he would crack jokes, about, talking about dealing candy, dealing, so he would crush. And a funny story about him that I'll share with you, since he's shared a couple about me, is I remember the first time he did stand-up, it was at the world famous Comedy Store in the Belly Room, which, is a big thing for anyone, but for a new comic, it's, oh my God, I'm at the Comedy Store, right? So he just puts his bits together, but it's mostly like from his AA shares, which is also very funny. And so he goes up there, does this stuff, and it's so inspirational. At the end, he goes, I got 12 years sober, and and in my life, it's been so great. And if you guys, want some experience, strength, and hope, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And then the host, which was a guy who actually works at the Comedy Store, he goes up there after him. He goes, I didn't know this was an AA meeting. And he didn't even know, we were in the program at all. But he felt that vibe. So that for his first set, he just did his AA share. So if you guys want to just do your AA share.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I can be funny at times, and maybe if I gave it a shot, but all my funniness is all around my alcoholism and drug addiction my entire life. I've got some crazy funny stories. They're painful, but I think that's all I could talk about. I don't know. We were watching an episode the other night
season finale of Saturday Night Live.
No, we weren't. How do you think?
I don't know. I think that
I was watching a thing on Roddy.
You guys are so funny together.
I was watching a special on Roddy Piper, the wrestler, WWE and all that.
Oh, I think I saw that.
And after his wrestling career, he actually got into stand-up comedy, and they were showing some skits, and son of a bitch, the guy was really good, but what he did was tell all wrestling stories and throw a comical twist into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to talk about what you know, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But so freely, and that takes talent, I have to say. Like, I remember when I first met you.
I want to tell, go ahead.
Okay, when I first met Tim, I was like, you're so funny because you're so comfortable in your own skin. And like, I grew up in LA, so obviously, and then I got thrown in the entertainment world when I was 13. So like, I had a lot of like walls and masks and shit like that up, right? So coming into LA, I feel like, and being sober, getting sober, and then pursuing what you're doing, there's like this, you're not jaded as much and you're able to be more free, but then you get sober and you do all this stuff and you're like on fire. Like, you're funny as fuck, excuse my language,
So-
but like, you're really
So I was
funny.
watching one of your videos today, and it was you doing, and we'll get into this because your world flipped upside down when COVID happened, because coming into the COVID days, you're booming. You've got events booked all over, as we did, speaking, and everything was shut down. And your finances are no longer coming in, and most of us, you know.
Well, did it affect you financially?
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Affected me because doing no shows, you know, from doing ton of shows a week to not doing anything at all, and not traveling, not touring. Of course,
You had actually talked about I think a nonprofit that helped out comedians pay some bills and stuff. But you were doing I think it was in May, I don't know, but you were doing an outside comedy routine, and you're like, yeah, I'm going through my Instagram, and I posted a picture, and somebody made some Asian hate comment, and you could hear the audience going, oh, bad. And you're like, yeah, it was my mom saying this. It was hilarious the way you said it. You have such a gift for, I was cracking up. I was looking at a bunch of your stuff. I couldn't stop laughing. And that's a good comedian too, to keep people going. What is it like having to, because when you're a comedian, you go to the Comedy Store, they open tomorrow, you're there. How long can you do the same set for before you need to change it up?
I always try to do new stuff, like at least a couple new bits every time I go up there, but it's hard to do a whole new set. And so I take it bit by bit, but every time I go up, I try to do one or two new jokes.
So do they
just, the wheel.
Jimmy, do they just come to you, or are you driving or at night before you go to bed thinking and something hits you and you write it down? How does that happen?
Everybody's different. There's certain guys that will sit down from 4 to 6. I'm going to write today, you know? I'm not one of those guys. I like inspiration to come, and then I'll just jot it down in my phone and then develop it later. And then I also teach a comedy class, which I use as sort of an open mic, where I will try out jokes in front of my students. And of course, they all give their feedback as well as get mine, and develop them that way. And so I have a pretty good system with teaching stand-up, which also makes me a stronger stand-up. And then also just, you know, coming up with 1 or 2 premises a week, and then developing them, you know, and then trying them out at my own shows. So it's like a little joke factory, you know what I mean?
That's a lot of work. I mean, so, and I mentioned this before, I kind of was at Sound Night Live for 3 years in the early 2000s and late 90s, early 2000s. And being amongst like Tracy Morgan, Jimmy Fallon, Will Ferrell, Chris
He's probably wondering, how were you there?
Chris, I dated Chris Kattan on there for 3 years, and it's a long story, but God bless him. I love him on a good level, on a good way. And I watched the writers and Judd Apatow, like all those people, right? Like that whole crew. I watched them, and we watched the Saturday Night Live finale that just happened recently, a couple weeks ago. And
last night.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, you're right.
So and you got days lost.
I can't.
So and I'm like, babe, you have to understand, these people write all week long, and like half an hour before the live show goes on, they've already done a rehearsal show, and they may work all week, and then everything gets cut. Like, so they have no show. And it's a brutal world. The comedy world is a brutal, hard world. And to have a outlook the way you do on this is, you have to do a lot of work on yourself, I personally believe. And like, what do you do? Like, how do you separate the two? You know what I mean? Where you're like not defined by who you are, what you do.
Can we backtrack a little bit to the initial question about the pandemic?
Yeah.
And then I can get into my identification with being a stand-up. Well, the whole world, as you guys well know, was put sort of, you know, sent to the room by God, you know, for a timeout, right? And I didn't know that I identified myself as a comedian so much, you know, like everything I did was related, including teaching, my circle, you know, my friends, just, you know, I'm a comedian and that's what I do, right? And then when I couldn't do that, I was forced sort of into my room in quarantined I had to find out who am I? Who am I if I'm not a comedian? If I'm not doing stand-up, what am I? Who am I? And so I had to go really deeper. And there's some, issues that came up that I thought I had dealt with, from my childhood and in recovery and stuff like that. And yeah, I just had to dig deeper and address some of those issues and be okay with just being myself, which is a child of God, and okay if I don't accomplish anything. Do you see what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah. Like, because I always had to like be doing cool shows or big shows or, and I'm sure you can, doing acting, you can, your sort of your value is based on what project you're working on, right? Like if I'm on a big movie, I'm the shit. If I'm not, then I'm a piece of shit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had to get off of that. I'm like, now who am I? I'm not doing these cool shows. Can I still be okay being me? And thank God I had the tools of, the program and also meditation and just digging deeper into some of those issues that I needed to work on. And without the pandemic, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
You lost out, financially a lot too, because you had jobs that got canceled and bookings, whether they're in Seattle, locally, wherever. How did that affect you? Because when it came to us, we lost 85 speaking events that we had booked.
It was our income.
It was our income. It was over, it was a substantial into the low six figures income gone. And then I didn't know, but we redeveloped, we started a podcast. We started speaking events online and doing these other things. But in hindsight, outside of getting COVID, I think it was one of the best things that ever happened, because it made Jennifer and I, we're stuck together. You got two type A fucking personalities.
Oh yeah, you both had COVID, right?
For eight weeks, Jimmy. It almost killed us.
2 more extra weeks after we tested negative, we had to stay in. So it was 10 weeks.
Would you guys be long haulers or?
Yes.
We both are. I have breathing issues now. I lose my breath very quickly. And I was a competitive water skier. I still water ski. And our place in Florida, it's 3-story townhouse. I am sucking wind, and it's after effects. Jen actually said yesterday, we were walking in Beverly Hills. I went to lunch, and she said, your breathing's actually starting to get better, but she's got all sorts of after effects.
It's a disaster. I mean, we actually talked, like, I almost went to the hospital 3 times in 1 week, a couple weeks ago. And we kind of did the math, and I was like, well, they're going to give me opiates. They're going to give me on morphine, this and that. And I'm like, he's like, babe, I was in such chronic pain. And he's like, babe, if you have to, smoke or take some edibles or something with THC. And I was like, I think I might. And I ended up doing CBD. And I didn't go that route, but I was like getting hooked on opiates or, chronic pain. So it's been an experience. It's funny that it's actually interesting that you're talking about this, because for Tim, I feel he went through what you did on that level. And I went through it when I got sober. Like, I lost everything. Yeah, I lost everything. My identity, money, who I was, what I did, what I look like. I gained over 100 pounds. And I know I talked about that on your podcast, but I lost it all. And I moved to Egypt. I thought it was an hour away, but I lost all that. I'm either the shit or a piece of shit. I was like, I'm a piece of fucking shit. Like, I have no job skills either. Like, how was I going to do this? So when this COVID happened last year, I literally looked at Tim. I got an offer to do a job and helping somebody make masks, and they were going to pay me $15 an hour. And I was like, babe, I think I'm going to do it. And he's like, what? So I'll always take that job, because I've had in my career in sobriety, I've had nothing, absolutely nothing, and started all over.
Yeah, you're humble.
It doesn't bother me.
Humble is a great word, Jimmy. And I got to the point because prior to COVID, I did 250 speaking events. I'm working in treatment. I'm running a nonprofit. I'm on the news all the time. This TV show, as Jen was, we came together and we're going to partner up. And then COVID hit. I got to the point, I can remember looking at Jen and said, if I were to just open a pizza restaurant and sell pizzas, are we good? She said, Tim, if you want to go open a pizza restaurant in the middle of Iowa, I'm going to be right by your side. Wow. And I'm like, good. But in hindsight, it was one of the best things that happened. But it also brought me closer to people like you and Greg, and through online meetings, and expanded that. And
Did that make you see that her love was real?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same
'cause
thing
I-
happened with the Bell's palsy with me. I had to ask that question to my girlfriend. If my face stays like this, are you still with me? You know what I
Right.
mean? And she said yes. And then that's when I knew it was real. It wasn't
Well,
based on what I had.
So what happened?
I think that was that day when you asked me
It
about
was,
the pizza place.
but it was like I got the COVID 20. I put on 20 pounds, and I looked down one day and my belly was sticking out so far I couldn't see my penis. That's where I got a dicky do. My belly sticks out farther than my damn dicky do. And I looked at Jen and I still said, "Are you gonna love me?" And she said, "Well, if I rub your belly enough, I think it'll grow." See, I got him to laugh. Score. So yeah.
So, but you know,
Yeah.
Jimmy, I want to say this is that like, and I told this to Tim recently again too. I said, you have to understand, I've had it all. I've made millions. I was like, I've been on covers of magazines. I've had it all, and I've had nothing at all.
Same.
And I know that I have a foundation, and none of that other stuff I don't get to take with me. Like, I've been robbed, like everything, every, Louis bag and Gucci bag, like taken, and, no sugar daddy. Like I've done it all. Like, and so none of that stuff really, like, it doesn't define me, because I was so defined as a child of who I was and what I did. It was all one thing. And what I do for a living is so different than who I am inside. And I think that was a really great lesson for last year for you and for everyone else, and for me too. Like, I learned more things, about myself, but I think that people are still stuck in that today, and you've evolved from that.
But also, like you said, having nothing and having, it all, you learn to be relatable, right? And that's a big asset when you're doing stand-up, or if you're an artist of any sort. Right, you know how to relate what is going to resonate with people, right?
Absolutely. And can I ask you this question?
Okay.
On relating. So I get discovered modeling. I'm born in California, from Argentina, right? I'm as Latin as they come, from the southern part of, the southest part of the world. I'm from California. I'm too ethnic as a model right now. If you're not ethnic enough now today, like, you're not good enough, right? Like, that's what they're labeling it today. Now you have to be super ethnic. Now,
all the whites are out the window. Fuck the crackers. Get rid of them.
But all the, I've been to the South. I've been all over the world. I've dealt with discrimination. I still deal with it. But I've never been more discriminated than when I was heavy by women. But I felt discrimination. In this day and age for you, are you feeling that?
I do a little bit, but not because I'm fortunate that I grew up somewhere that's very, very diverse, and also just everybody dated everybody, and there just wasn't that much racism. I grew up in Tacoma, Washington, Seattle.
Oh, I've been there. Yeah, I used to go there.
Yeah. It's very diverse. There's a lot of Asian people. Everybody likes everybody. You know what I mean? And I currently live in LA, which I haven't really experienced that, but I do know of people, and then a situation of a comedian also, being racist. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yeah.
And then, he recently, got into trouble that way. But as far as like my day to day, I'm in an interracial relationship. I don't feel it, and sometimes I feel that now it's almost an asset to be Asian, because they're also being more inclusive here in Hollywood, which is a great thing. If you remember the last Academy Awards, Best Picture went to a Korean.
Yeah.
When is that going to happen? when has that ever happened, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm right, that I can't remember the movie, no. What was the movie?
It was Parasite.
Parasite. Thank you.
Sorry.
Because we watched that, but I think it was all in subtitles.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. So they're just being more inclusive. And the last Academy Awards for Best Supporting Actress, it was also an Asian person. And then, Best Film, Asian person, what I mean? All these things.
That's awesome. That's Where do you see things moving forward from here? Because we follow each other on, all of us on social media, and we see what you're doing, and Greg, and you've been doing some outdoor comedy venues. Where do you see things going in the next 6 months? Are you starting to get booked other locations? Or you trying to get out of LA? Or you just open the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory and these other places open?
Oh no, I've already been traveling. I just took Greg to feature for me in Tacoma and Seattle.
Wow.
I went to El Paso, Texas a few weeks ago. I got Idaho. I got a bunch of other places on
awesome
schedule. And then Comedy Store is already open, and they're doing, sort of in-house shows on a limited capacity. But once they open up again, I'll probably be back producing shows over there. So I like to have, local shows going, and plus, tour and do out of town shows too.
So talk more, hold on real quick, about the producing. Do you produce comedy shows for other people or for like yourself?
I produce my own show. I started the Shindig show about 7 years ago. And believe it or not, like it's like world famous. I met a guy from Sweden that, like, the Shindig show, we know the Shindig show, you know what I mean? So they'll come actually to the Comedy Store looking for my show.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I've been doing it for 7 years. And we've had some of the biggest names in comedy, and that helps. I've just built relationships with these people, and thankfully, because I'm sober, I never burnt any bridges or let my ego get in the way, where you could shoot yourself in the foot that way. And I know a lot of cats that did, you know what I mean? They just let their ego get in the way, and they basically, lost some relationships that could have helped them.
Ooh, yeah, I know that one a little too good. So about that, so you get sober, and you've had Shindig show for 7 years. You're almost 7 years sober, even though you've been in the rooms for a little bit longer. I was a chronic relapser, so back in the day. And so for me, there is no way in hell that I could do my career and do my recovery at the same time. Not in the beginning, because I was such a chronic relapser, right? So I had to, like I said, move to Egypt an hour away. But how were you able to do that? How were you able to keep those two? I call it compartmentalizing.
Mm-hmm.
But how were you? It's a big word for me.
Well,
but
fortunately,
and not get that twisted.
Well, fortunately, I learned comedy sober, and so I was used to already doing it sober. Where some artists will be like, "Oh, if I get sober, I don't know if I can still sing, or I don't know if I can write, or I can, do comedy." Well, I knew I could do comedy sober because I learned it that way. So fortunately, I had that going for me. The other part is that I basically surrounded myself with people like Greg, who started right when I got sober, and surround myself with other sober comedians like Ant. You guys know Ant.
Yeah.
And Daryl Hammond lately, he's getting sober. And so I try to surround myself with other sober comedians, and believe it or not, you'd be surprised. I always say either they are sober or they're going to be sober.
Or they're going to be sober,
yeah. Yeah. Who up until date, who's the biggest name or person that you had the opportunity to work with as a comedian?
Well, recently I've had Bill Burr 3 times on my outdoor Silver Lake show. Believe it or not, it's held at a church. so it's always fun to watch, and again, it's a result of me being of service to another human being. I've tried to give somebody a cake one day. They have meetings there. It's called the Brunswick meeting in Silver Lake.
Yeah.
And then she was taking her cake, and then people, crack jokes as they often do. And then I just heard the roar of laughter and looked around. I was like, this is going to be great take me to your leader, right? And next thing you know, I've been doing shows there for maybe 4 or 5 months straight.
That's awesome. Who's one person you'd want to work with that you haven't worked with?
Dave Chappelle.
He's probably one of the best, if not the best, comics out there.
Yeah, he's the GOAT for sure.
Who did you like admire growing up besides Dave Chappelle?
Probably Eddie Murphy. I remember as a kid watching some of his older specials, and just like laughing my ass off. And I didn't know that you could do that with stand-up.
Yeah.
It just blew my mind,
And get paid to do it.
And get paid to do it and be like a rock star.
Well,
those tight leather outfits, and he was a rock star, right? And
Hell
like,
yeah.
I want to do that. I wish I could do that.
And Eddie Murphy gives back a lot. A lot of people don't know it, but he's a very generous individual. I've never met him, but I know other stories. Yeah, I'm thinking of comedy now, and the Chris Farleys, the Sam Kinnisons, the ones that have moved on. Do you feel a lot of comics are using comedy to express their underlying traumas that they've dealt with in life? Because a lot of comics are alcoholics or drug addicts. I mean, wouldn't you agree or not?
Oh yeah, a lot of the comedy comes from our pain, right, and from our suffering, and we make light of it. And as young people, or before we even knew we were comics, we used it as a survival skill, right? If I could just make dad laugh, maybe he won't hit me with a stick. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
Maybe if I could make this girl laugh, I can, make her laugh all the way to my bed.
Absolutely.
Maybe if I, make these guys laugh, they'll give me free drugs. And so on and so forth, right? It was an asset, like maybe even women use their beauty, right?
100%. I was the class clown and all that, but humor was my way, just like you said, to get in someone's pants or to score more drugs, or they just bought the round of drinks. And I had it, but I used it as my advantage to benefit my selfish needs.
I mean, I love that we're talking about that tragedy and laughter. Like I tell Tim, sounds so like horrible, but when my dad died, the first thing I did was laugh. I had no idea how to comprehend what was going on. So I started laughing. Like, I mean, obviously it was, and my mom said that during the funeral, like I kind of laughed and was smiling a lot, but I didn't know how to be. Like now, obviously it would have been a total different story.
You didn't have the coping
But
skills.
I didn't have the coping skills. And like, I always say, like, I always performed as a child, right? So if I like, performed enough or made people laugh, like maybe, dad wouldn't want to bounce or mom wouldn't want to check out or whatever it was that was happening. I felt exactly those words that you just said. Like I felt it so much.
Yeah.
What have you felt this time around, like from being sober before and having, doing the whole, like, working your way up into the sober living manager position? Like, what do you feel is so different this time for you?
I'm just happy. I'm happier. I was never happy before.
What does that look like for you? What is happy?
For me, happiness has a lot less to do with excitement and what's going on with my life, and more to do with like peace, where I could, get a good night's sleep, and I could just, lie in my own bed and be comfortable in my own skin, be okay with being by myself.
Not having your mind fucking racing.
Exactly. Telling me I'm a piece of shit, telling me all this. I'm, learned some tools like meditation, and, also you mentioned listening to self-help tapes. I love that. I listen to constantly, because I always say I want to stay one step ahead of my mind. You
have to.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting though too, especially with this pandemic we were in, they always say music's a universal language. You can listen to any type of, and I listen to all sorts of music, but what else gets people going is comedy. Yeah. You can pop something on and to make someone laugh or listen to something and just be busting out. It's good to laugh. It's good to smile. It's great to be happy, but you got to own it. You got to put forth the effort. And, you didn't become a comedian saying, I want to be a comedian because I want to be rich like Eddie Murphy. You did it because you like to make people laugh, and wherever the journey takes you, it takes you.
Oh man, just up in Seattle, we had a sold out show. And in this show, they didn't have to wear masks inside, and it was almost like not even socially distanced. I won't say which club it was. But it was just like almost back to normal. And then after, before the show, everyone was kind of, what do we do? Felt kind of uncomfortable being out, a little maybe socially awkward from being quarantined for so long and don't know what to do. Should I shake his hand? Should I not? After the show, everybody was hanging out outside.
That's awesome.
Outside of the venue. Okay.
Cool.
And everybody was happy. And I felt the energy because I feel things now because I'm sober, right? And
right.
I'm in tune with that. And I just looked around and I looked at my friend. I think it might have been Greg. but it could have been another friend. I just go, dude, we make people happy.
Yeah.
You do.
We make people happy. Like, how many people can say that?
Do you know that you have this ability and this gift to make people realize that their traumas weren't maybe that bad, or that they weren't the only ones going through something? Because, you know, we make that, and you make that, not we, I'm like, we make that, we don't, you do, make that into a funny situation or a humorous situation where they can find some kind of light at the end of that darkness. And that is something that speaks volumes, you know, and I thank you. Like, I thank you for not stopping, especially during the pandemic, you know, when we were all shut down and doing all that. And like, I know how active you are in recovery, and I thank you for being a force for that. It's so important to have more people like you in this world to do what you're doing. When you were talking about your anxiety before you started doing this, the
Transcendental meditation.
Transcendental meditation. You said you had to think of a mantra. Like, what kind? Like, what is it? Like, I'm amazing, or is it like a not? It doesn't have to be yours.
They give you a mantra, and you're not supposed to talk about it. It's kind of like Fight Club.
So it could be a wave or something. I'm hypothetically speaking.
No, for each person, you say like, what is your sort of goal, sort of, and some people could say, you know, I want happiness, or I want peace, or I want awakening, or I want money. You know, it doesn't matter, but it's less to do with what you want and more to do with they give you something to focus on.
Very cool.
Thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question. When you were in, you know, the heat of pandemic and lockdown, were you still writing comedy and jokes, or were you just kind of in a state to where I'm just trying to figure out how to survive day by day?
Well, there was a period when I was even doing some Zoom shows and stuff like that. And so I would just write, and then I was teaching throughout the pandemic. So I was always pretty much plugged in. I was never like to the point where I, you know, except for maybe the first 3 weeks, you know, like just what is going on, you know, when you didn't know, remember that? And
yeah, I can remember, Jen, we were kind of late to the parade. We had flown in from Houston on a Tuesday. We were supposed to film a TV pilot Friday, Saturday, Sunday. She gets me a lead role. We're all excited. And Thursday, LA got shut down. And I don't remember if it was Friday or Saturday. Jen went to the grocery store and she's sending me pictures going, oh my God, what am I going to do? Every shelf was empty.
It was before they shut down, because the pandemic was happening. They were going to shut down. It was the day after we arrived.
Okay.
Here, and it was at Whole Foods. All places. And I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm just taking pictures. Like, I don't know.
Everything was
I didn't
empty.
understand like the water and all that. Like, I was like, what is going on? It's so weird. I saw a post in March about that, and I was like, that's so crazy. But I had, you know, stopped acting. I put that on hold so I could be in the trenches the last like 4 years, 5 years. And I've been in the trenches speaking in, like, you know, at IOPs and detoxes and hospitals and all that. And I was like, you know, I want to act again. So I was like, oh, okay. And I said, I didn't want to chase it. If it came to me, it would happen. I was ready. And boom, 2 weeks later, boom, 1, 2, 3 movies and a pilot. And I was like, yes. And we were speaking. I was like, our bread and butter is here, babe. We're good. We're golden. Here we go. And it was like, crickets.
Gone,
crickets.
over, done.
So yeah, it was an interesting process to accept that, you know, and not accept, oh, I'm not going to do it. Like, it was just like, okay, this is happening. But it was more interesting for me to stay calm. So he, you know, if I go crazy, he stays calm. And so I had to kind of alter that thing.
I go crazy, she goes crazy.
Did you guys find that as you get more into your recovery and you start to recover more, that you're able to accept things quicker?
So I'll answer for me first, Jimmy. I got sober in a prison cell. I got my 3rd DUI. I overdosed on heroin, hit a few cars. I sentenced to 7 years in prison. So I kicked heroin and alcohol in a cell. But my analogy to everything is, hey, at least I'm not eating in a box under my bed. You know, my commissary box and my ramen noodles. And
so we have COVID, we're dying. Like, I'm on death's bed. Like, I see death. I'm like, I see you. Like, I mean, the whole thing. He's like, well, at least we're not in prison. And I'm like, I didn't go to prison. Do you understand that? I don't understand what that means. Like,
well, for you, you're like, at least you're not 200 pounds anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's it. I'm not broke and 200 pounds. Yeah, you know, that 267.
I really go back to the perspective. We always had a roof over our head. We had clothes on our back. We had food on the table. We got some good friends in our life. We got each other. I don't need anything else. Everything else is wants. not that people don't deserve things, but I could be anywhere and be comfortable with those basic necessities, and I could get on and do meetings.
So the girl
Yeah.
that said that she would stay by you, is she's still the girl?
Yeah. No,
She's a
we've had a
phenomenal
little
girl.
bit of trouble, during the pandemic when we were just quarantined. I don't think two people were created to be spending that much time together nonstop. Even the pastor of the church I do the show at, I talked to him about it. He's like, yeah, even the caveman, he left and went hunting and gathering and he'd come back, and we weren't meant for that, and so we had some problems, but worked through it and got stronger, as we all do.
So he can get things from guys like, and they'll be like, dude, how do you do it? You're with her all the time. Da, da, da. And I said to him, we were talking about somebody recently.
I mean, because we live together, we work together, we travel together.
I get, like, he doesn't get.
I haven't had a driver's license in 20 years. I'm getting it back in the next 6 to 8 weeks, but she drives. So we're together all the fucking time.
He's a dude.
How does that work?
Okay, so he's a dude who's a bro. He's like, okay, it looks great. Like, I can have egg dripping down my hair, and I'll be like, babe, do I look okay? You look great. You look fine. Like, not, he's just a dude. So I realized, like, I need my girly time with my girls, and so I learned to do it via FaceTime and this and that, and a lot of phone calls.
She go for walks. I go for walks.
Yeah.
I go to one room. She goes to another. I'm the early person, so I get up early, check my social media.
But I've done life alone. If I really do the work, and I've done the work on it, I've done life alone. Like, yes, I've had relationships and stuff, but they're not in my life anymore. And so I said the second half of my life, like, I want to do it with somebody. So I don't know how long I have on this earth. It could be 50 years and it could be 50 minutes. I don't know, 50 seconds longer. So I choose who I want in my life and in my space. And we enjoy it.
98% of the time, it's really good. When it goes south, it can go south.
It goes way
I
south.
yell, she yells, she throws.
Have you guys had some big blowouts during the pandemic?
A couple. Not to where, I mean, but, and I'll tell you why though, Jimmy, because, and we talked, the good thing is Jenny and I talk about these things and we evaluate them in type A personality. So we get in a disagreement. I get mad. I raise my voice. She says something, F you, and then you have two people trying to level each other up. Well, I'm going to say this. And we said, look,
okay, so that's his perspective. He said, she said, the thing is, I'm 15 years sober. I got a lot of tools. I got to use them. I got to apply them. I go to therapy. I talk to my sponsor. I do these things. I need to learn. I've never been in a relationship, married rather, and so I have to learn to keep my role, and be the female and not be so dominant and testosterone build, because I've been such a defender of my own universe and my own circle and my family, and that I don't need to do that anymore. I have a man so he'll say something, I walk away, and then I come back and I'll say, I kind of need to explain some things to you. This is how I feel about what's really going on. It's actually a serious situation, i.e. example, my health. And I'll say, I don't know the results until I find out this week. This happened earlier. It wasn't a fight or anything like that. And he didn't even say anything bad. I just went, I actually need to address this. We have, I have a bunch of things I have to do today, but I need to address this because I don't know when else we're going to have an opportunity to address it. So we
talked, but the one thing I'll end with this is Jen said, you should talk to my therapist. And I'm like, I don't need a therapist. John has changed my life. And I can remember after our first session, I'm like, all right, are we booking next week? He goes, no, we don't operate that way. He said, you have my phone number. You text me when you need to talk, whether it's 2 weeks, it's 6 weeks, it's 8 weeks. We've done a couple therapy sessions together, but he has had me take away the 12 steps and all this. He gave me different eyes because he's a 30-year therapist, happens to be in recovery, a different perspective to look at things. It's been a game changer.
Well, and also a lot of people, to those out there who are listening that may not know, is that the great thing today, we have Zoom or telehealth and this and that. And I've been doing therapy for so long in my life that I do it at a different level, and we do and say things differently. And for Tim, I thought, okay, just try him out, figure it out. And it has nothing to do with it never crosses any boundary, because I'm working on different things.
Have you ever done therapy?
I have. Yeah, I've done both couples therapy and individual therapy.
Awesome.
Actually, my girlfriend might be looking for a therapist, so I might.
Let me know. We'll talk offline. We'll get you dialed in.
How do you see this evolving for you? Where do you see
yourself, and where would you like to be in 5 years with your career?
Just doing more of what I'm doing, and I'm right on purpose right now. I do all the things that I love to do, that I'm talented and gifted at. Sometimes we can get like a mixed bag where we like things that we're not good at, or maybe we're good at things that we don't like, right?
Yeah.
And so that could be a conundrum, right? And so I'm fortunate to really love what I do. And so I just want to keep doing it and keep doing more of it. Teaching, writing, performing, influencing, impacting.
So what would be a bigger deal for you? Selling out a massive theater like Bill does on your own, or being on a weekly sitcom show doing comedy? What would you rather do?
If I could regularly sell out theaters and perform live, I would rather do that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because I love that live interaction.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't say this lightly, nor do I say it to other people. I know a lot of huge celebrities, and I'm blessed to have some of them as friends and whatnot. But I see you becoming a ginormous star. I really do.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've watched you today, researching you, kind of stalking a little bit, but I'm not gonna lie. And I'm just like, this guy is so
You
talented.
have a gift. You're not someone trying to fake it. You have a fucking gift, and you have a talent, in your personality, and your humbleness, and your kindness.
But there's so much depth and weight to you, and there's so much seriousness and giving back and applying the principles of recovery in your story and in your mannerism, in your aura. I'm in awe of you. Like, I can't wait to have you back on the show to see what your future is, how it's going and evolving, because like the sky's the limit, and like you're on it.
And you also run a podcast called Second Chances
with Greg
Baldwin. How can people find your podcast?
It's secondchancestv.com. And you could find it, or you could follow us or follow me on I Am Jimmy Shin on Instagram and Twitter.
So that's the best way. I Am Jimmy Shin, SHIN, on Twitter and Instagram.
And you guys do a hell of a job of promoting your guests that go on. Like the words that you capture, I'm like, I said that when I did your show. I was like, what? Oh my God, this is so profound. And but I was just like, holy.
Well, that's our also our producer, Cecily. So that I got to give her the credit for that.
Well, you guys have a good team, and Jimmy, unfortunately, we're at the end of the show here. For everyone listening, Google Jimmy Shin, SHIN. Watch his content. You can actually go to his webpage if you want him to come to your town. Get a hold of them, book them, get them out there. Chicago, New York, Connecticut, Florida, Iowa, Nebraska. You need Jimmy coming to your town.
I'm actually going to Vegas next month. So
awesome.
Please let us know though when you're going to be performing out here again. Not tomorrow, but the next week or something.
Yeah. Good. And for the Tim and Jen show, I'm Tim Ryan. This is my co-host Jennifer Jimenez. We'd like to thank Jimmy for being on the show. You. We'll be back next week with another badass guest. We'll check you then. We want to talk to you about Clean Cause, better caffeine. What's in the can? Our organic, sparkling Herba Mate is a premium pick-me-up that won't let you down. Every can of Clean Cause contains 160 milligrams of better caffeine, and each sip supports recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. 50% of the profits go to assist people into sober living. Check out cleancause.com.
Hope. At Rosecrans, it's more than a wish. Hope has power. As the proven behavioral health leader in the Midwest, no other program offers our depth of experience and hope here at Rosecrans. And when someone you love struggles with substance abuse and mental illness, hope plays an important part in recovery. Life's got bigger plans for you. We should know. We're the most trusted name in treatment and the best choice for those who dare to hope. Visit us at rosecrans.org. Life's waiting.
Seaside Palm Beach is an executive luxury addiction treatment center located in Palm Beach, Florida. Our private clients come from all over the world, including business executives, professional athletes, celebrities, and more. Seaside Palm Beach offers first-class amenities and high-end accommodations, including a gourmet culinary experience, ocean views, pet-friendly facilities, and access to cell phones and laptops during your stay. If you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, please call us at 877-959-5053. Again, that number is 877-959-5053.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being, supports muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, powerful liver support, energy, helps blood sugar regulation, superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.